We are now focusing on our last chapter of second quarter, which is chapter 6, percents. We're going to focus on section 1, which is going to address enlargement and reduction. This can be easily applied to real life when you think about a photocopier machine. On a photocopy machine, we can actually enlarge a picture or reduce the size of a picture. To help us zoom in, an enlargement makes the number bigger to enlarge something, while the word reduce refers to making something smaller. Now, those are two pretty easy terms. Enlarge, get bigger; reduce, get smaller. But let's apply this to fractions and percents. Let's look at the number and identify if the percent is an enlargement or a reduction. 50% of something. If I'm looking at 50%, I'm focusing on half of it. So that would be a reduction. What if I look at 200%? 200% of something, I double it. Instead of 100%, which is 1, I'm going to double it. So this is an enlargement. I want you to go ahead, pause it, and do these 6 practice percents and identify if it's an enlargement or a reduction. Okay, so let's take a look at these. 142%, that would be an enlargement. 20% would be a reduction. 76, okay, still a reduction. It's under 100%. 500% would be an enlargement. 3% would be a reduction, and 218% an enlargement. So anything above 100% would be an enlargement. So if I say 101%, that's an enlargement. And if it's 99%, it would be a reduction. So let's go ahead and apply this enlargement and reduction to fractions. So let's take a look at this example. If we have a photocopier, a photocopy machine, and we want to obtain a reduction of 1/3 the original image or 1/3 the original size, I'm going to go ahead and turn that fraction, I have to turn it into a decimal, and then I have to turn it into a percent. So how do I turn that fraction into a percent? I have to turn that fraction into a decimal first. So how do I do that? I just divide. Remember, it's 1/3. If I want to turn that into a decimal, remember that bar is just a division sign. I bring that 1 down, and it's 3 into 1. Well, we know 3 into 1 would be a decimal, so it would be 0 point something. So 3 times what equals 10 would be 3. So we have 0.3, okay, and that becomes a 9. Well, we know 10 minus 9 is 1, and then we have to bring down the 0 to make another 10. 3 times 3 is 9. So it's going to be continually 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 3 is 9. And so we will yield a 0.3, and that 3 will continue. And so this is equivalent to, okay, 33%. Well, why 33%? We have 0.3333. It's going to continue to happen as I divide 3 into 1. And we know that is a rational number because it's repeating. So I can just go ahead and put a bar over the 3 or the 3, and that would give me the identification for that repeating rational number. But then I want to go ahead and to turn it into a percent, I want to take that decimal and move it over 2 places to the right, and that would give me 33%. Now on Monday, we can actually go in and take a look at the photocopy machine, and we can look at reduction and enlargement. Okay, here's another little practice that we can do. What percent would you use to obtain the following enlargements? So what I'd like you to do, With these four, I want you to go ahead and turn these fractions into decimals and then into percentages. But before you start, before you pause this, remember, these are mixed numbers. What do I have to do with a mixed number? I have to first turn them into an improper fraction. So in order to do that, I need to go ahead and modify this. Let's do the first one together. If I have a mixed number and I want to turn that into an improper fraction, I want to multiply 4 times 1. So 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3. So 4 times 1 plus 3 is 7. So this would be 7 over 4, or 7/4. Now that I have 7/4, I'm now going to divide. So I have the 7 on top. Okay, I have the division or the fraction bar, and then I have the 4 on the bottom. So 7 is my numerator, 4 is my denominator. And we did this before, so we've done this on previous assessments, so we're going to bring this back, and I'm now going to divide. So I'm going to divide 4 into 7, and that's going to give me my decimal, and then I'm going to move it 2 places to the right to give me my percentage. So go ahead, pause this, and try and do these 4, and then check your work. Okay, hopefully you unpaused this, and let's see how you did. So when I divided, I received a decimal, and then I moved the decimal point over 2 places to yield the percentage. If you have any questions, please let me know. Let's take a look at the next example. Now you're going to be doing the same thing with this practice. You're going to identify the percent from the fraction. Now these are a little easier, but these fractions, because they're not an improper fraction or a mixed number, these percentages most likely will be smaller than 100. So in practice 2, those were improper fractions, so they were larger than your 1. So these were all enlargements. So practice 3 will all be smaller than 1. These fractions are smaller, so these are all deductions. So these percentages will be under 100. Okay, so you can easily identify or mentally check this to make sure you're doing it right. Always show your work, but if it's a mixed or improper fraction, it's going to be an enlargement over 100%. While if it's a small fraction, it's going to be less than 100%. So go ahead and divide these to get the decimal, then convert these to percentages by moving the decimal place over 2 places to the right, and check this. So go ahead, pause this, please. Okay, let's see how we did. Please check your work. If you made a mistake, please go back and see where you made the mistake. Okay, so if I want to go ahead and modify a photo, if I want to take a photo, which is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and I want to maybe enlarge it or reduce it. If I want to modify this and maybe make it larger, I want to get the same proportions. I don't want it stretched out. I don't want it looking really weird. I want it looking exactly the same as it is, but just either smaller or larger. In this case, I'm going to reduce it. I'm going to make it smaller. Now, you don't have to use all the numbers here. Let's just look and compare, okay, the first part here. 2.5 inches, I'm going to compare that to 1.5 inches. So let's go ahead and determine the reduction setting to obtain the smaller photo. So let's take a look at the first ratio. What I'm going to do, because this is a reduction, I'm going to go ahead and place the smaller number on top. Okay, please make sure you know this. Anytime you have a reduction, the smaller number will be the numerator. The larger number will be the denominator in a reduction. If I flip that and I put the larger number as the numerator and the smaller one as the denominator, that makes my improper fraction or mixed number. Okay, so that makes it a enlargement. So anytime I have the larger number on top, it's going to be an enlargement. If I have my larger number on the bottom, smaller number on top, it's going to be a reduction. So I can go ahead and I can, you can see in the example on the right, I have 1.5 over 2.5. So I have the smaller number on top, larger number on the bottom. Why did I do that? Because the question is asking determine the reduction. I want to go smaller. So I move the decimal place over, and here I can actually just move it over 1. I have 15 over 25, and I know that 15 over 25, if I look at 25 times 4 is 100. If I have a percent, we know a percent is always out of 100. And if I did 25 times 4 equals 100, I could do 15 times 4 is 60 over 100. I can do that mentally if I want to relate that ratio to 100, because we know that's out of percentages out of 100. Me personally, I probably wouldn't do it that way. I would probably do it just dividing. I would go ahead and divide the 2.5 into the 1.5. Now I know if I have a 2.5, I need to move that decimal place over one place. And I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to move that decimal place one place over because it's on the outside. And if I move it one place over here, I need to move it one place to the right here. So it will be 25 into 15. And you guys, of course, saw the little answers there. And so what we have is 0.6, which is, if I move it 2 places to the right, 60%. So I can do it 2 different ways. I can divide, or I can relate it to a larger number. If I'm able to apply my knowledge of least common multiples, I can go ahead and do it that way. For me personally, I think it's a little easier to just divide, get my decimal, move it 2 places to the right, and get my percent. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do some practice examples. What setting should be used to determine each photo if the original photo is 4 inches by 6 inches? Okay, so we have the focus here is I want to go 4 inches to 5 inches. So this is an enlargement, 4 inches to 5 inches, 6 inches to 7.5 inches. Now, but here we're just going to focus on the first ratio, 4 and 5. Because this is an enlargement, I want to go larger. I'm going to put the 5 on top and then the 4 on the bottom. Okay, because 5 is bigger than the 4. So this would be, I originally have a 4 and I want to turn it into a 5. So it's going to be an enlargement. So 5 over 4. Okay, and I know that 4 times 25 equals 100. And if I multiply 4 times 25, I'd have to do that with a 5. So that would give me 125 over 100. Or I can just divide 4 into 5 to get 125%. So that would, if I divide 4 into 5, I would get 1.25. I move the decimal places 2 places over to the right. Okay, let's see if you can do this last one on your own. I'm going back to, I have 4 inches by 6 inches. I want to change that 4 inches to 3 inches. So this is a what? This is a reduction. I'm going 4 to 3. I'm going smaller. So go ahead, pause this. I want you to go ahead and do this on your own. Okay, you can unpause it now. If I'm going 4 to 3, which one's going to be on top? The 3 will be on top because this is a reduction. So it's going to be 3 over 4. I can just divide. or I can relate this to 100. So 3 over 4, 4 times 25 is 100. If I multiply that by 25, 3 times 25 is 75. That would be 75%, or I can just divide and get 0.75. Move it 2 places to the right to get 75%. So we will do some practice problems with this. Please try the practice problems in the textbook, and that will definitely help you.